So I'm Jerry Garfinkel. I'm the treasurer and also technical director of the Jewish Studies Center. I want to welcome you all to this class on beginning Kabbalah or Discover Kabbalah. Um, I'll get into that a little in about a minute or so. But I'm also the technical director, so let me sort of say a few technical things. The recording is on, so after the class is all over, I'll cut off the stuff that began before now, and I'll post it on YouTube, and I'll send an email to everybody who's registered. A lot more people have registered than will actually attend. And at that point, Jay may want me to also include in the email some other materials, which we could do. The email will also include the link of how to get into Jay's Monday evening class. He has a class every Monday evening at Kabbalah. Also, the closed captions are on because I see it right now. So, if you have a problem understanding my accent or the way I speak or Jay, etc., you can look at the closed captions. Now, I'm not sure exactly how Jay is going to handle the questions. Usually we put the questions in the chat and address it to everybody. Jay may want to change that. I'm not sure.
If you have a question, both raise your hand and also put it in the chat. And then, James, if you could help monitor that when we get to questions at about 8:15 or so, then you can select the questions that you think are good ones or that we have time for.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do with that.
Including the most pressing question in everybody's mind, which is, how did I get the name McCrensky?
Yes, I would love to know that. I actually Googled that name and I see his real name.
I think he got it from his father.
Right. It's
a Jewish name. It doesn't look very Jewish. But anyway.
What's the MC? How did that get in there?
It was my grandfather's older brothers in the 1890s came from White Russia to Boston, Massachusetts. And everybody was Irish then in Boston. So they changed it from Medansky to McCrensky.
Oh, they did change the name.
I am Jewish thoroughly. And
there are a lot of McCrenskys on Google.
Oh yeah, really? No, I have to Google McCrensky if they spell it the same. They're all my cousins, second and third cousins.
Very, very Jewish name. More so than Garfinkel. The previous Attorney General was named Garland, Attorney General before
Merrick Garland. Yes,
Merrick Garland. His grandfather's name was Garfinkel. He changed it to Garland.
Really?
So they changed those names around a lot. Okay, I guess that's all I have to really tell you. The chat and the what do you call it? Oh, I guess I told you everything I need to tell you about technical stuff, but since there are some new people here, I should introduce Jay. This is Jay. Jay. Jay is a former member, actually, of the Jewish Studies Center board. He's also a colleague of mine in the synagogue. We share the Chavarah for bringing. Jay, many years ago, about 80, 90 years ago, he took a class at the Jewish Studies Center about Kabbalah, and he liked it so much that he became an expert in Kabbalah. He's written some books about it. He knows a lot, and he likes to tell people all about Kabbalah. And he's a good teacher. He also is a musician, and he plays music sometimes to accompany his teaching. Sometimes he and his wife join have their own band where they play klezmer music and other kinds of Jewish music. So Jay is a very good and very knowledgeable Kabbalah teacher. That's what I'll say. If you want to know what books he's written and stuff, you look at our well, probably it'll probably be in the email I send out, but it's also on the class description. So later on, if you go into our website and you click on recordings, you see the class description, which has a much more formal uh, description, bio of Jay, including the books that he's written. So anyway, Jay, I'll give it all to you now. Take over.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry, and thanks for hosting this class and through the Jewish Study Center. Welcome, everybody. Everyone should keep themselves muted, and then later when there's questions, you'll be able to unmute yourself, raise your hand and unmute yourself, and I'll be able to answer questions. So, yeah, this is an overview, a mini course in an hour on what you think you may want to know about Kabbalah, or what I think you may want to know about Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is a very poorly defined term, and it's not magic, superstition, occultism, astrology, numerology, tarot cards, although they came out of Kabbalah. But there's a lot of misconceptions because Kabbalah became lost in the 18th century to Judaism. It was mainstream Judaism for several hundred years, from the 12th, 13th century up until the 18th century. And then it became popular in the Enlightenment period among intellectuals, Christians, philosophers. It deeply influenced modern philosophy and psychology. But it became lost in Judaism because it became banned by the rabbis. And no one knows exactly why or how, and I've done research on that, and I could never find an actual edict, but it's said that the rabbis of Poland, which were the chief rabbis in 1723 or so of Eastern Europe, banned Kabbalah because it was considered, although they were all Kabbalists themselves, they still banned the study of and the teaching of the Zohar specifically, because there were vestiges of the Shabtai Tzvi movement, of false messiahs, and they were Kabbalistic groups. And too many young people were going in that direction. Well, that's the theory, but I think that's all incorrect. In my own research on the Zohar and years of study of the Zohar, I'm doing a book now called The Surreptitiously Subversive Zohar. And it really is subversive to the Midrashic tradition of understanding Torah. It delves into the body and the soul of Torah as opposed to the literal. And as you'll see as we talk about Kabbalah, and if you come to the class on Monday and study some Zohar, you'll see how subversive the Kabbalistic interpretation of Torah is. So if that doesn't whet your appetite, let me tell you what Kabbalah is in a nutshell. It's not Jewish mysticism, as it's been called since the time of Gershom Scholem in the 1940s and 50s, 60s, who revived the study of Kabbalah as an academic pursuit of Judaism. And he called it Jewish mysticism, and the name stuck. But it's not Jewish mysticism. It's really a theology of religion, both Christianity and Judaism, but came out of Judaism, that is a foundation for Jewish mystical practices and rituals. But it's also the foundation of most of what we do and know and practice in Judaism today. So what I'm going to talk about is some of the foundation concepts of Kabbalah, and then talk about the concept of evil that comes out of Kabbalah, which provides a deep and thoughtful and inspiring understanding of the Holocaust and of evil in the world. But it's also an understanding of sin and repentance. So we're going to cover that. Then we're going to cover the Kabbalah of Shabbat and what it means to become holy. What holiness has a very specific meaning in Kabbalah. And it all makes sense in terms of understanding and practicing Shabbat. Then we'll talk about Kabbalah in Jewish wedding ceremonies. Anybody here ever been to a Jewish wedding? Yeah, okay. And anyone been married in a Jewish wedding? Well, there's so many Kabbalistic practices in the wedding ceremony, and it makes it so so spiritual and enlightening. Only if the rabbis who conducted these ceremonies understood Kabbalah, if only they did. So we're going to go into that and what that is, and then we're going to go into mourning and funeral Kabbalistic practices, which are not superstition, as I mentioned. It's that they're not occult, they're not magic. That's actual meaning, spiritual meaning to the 7 days of Shiva and to all of the various customs and laws of the funeral and mourning. So then we'll open the questions, and by then it should be about midnight. So, but I'll try to talk fast and get through all of that if we can. So, Kabbalah is a theology of Judaism. It's a theology of experiencing God as flowing into us. In contrast, or in addition to God outside of us, to Kabbalists, God flows into us. And what we can experience is those attributes of God that become attributes of ourselves, that make us holy, that make us wise, that make us intelligent and understanding, that give us compassion for others. That's a flow of God coming into us. That give us power to be co-creators with God, that gives us holiness itself, that gives us the ability to formulate principles and define rules and have a meaning of life, that gives us the ability to be motivated to carry out those and stick to those principles and to carry out that mission, to be healthy, to be alive, to have needs, be aware of our needs, to be righteous, and finally, to feel God's presence. There's actually 10 of these channels of God flowing into us called 10 sephirot, or spheres in Greek. It's a Neoplatonic concept that was developed by the Jews from the 2nd century up to the 13th century, when the Zohar, the magnum opus of Kabbalah, and it's 13, 14 volumes, was composed or was edited together, which is probably from several hundred years of literature, all written in this Kabbalistic code language and symbolism. So starting concept is that God is And the belief in God is not relevant in Kabbalah. God is something that flows into us that we can relate to, that we can attach to these flows. We can meditate on these flows, but we can't know the source. The source is unknowable, undefinable. But it enables us to be partners in ongoing creation. And that creation is not something that ended in 6 days, but continues. And that God needs human beings, and human beings need God in order to continue this creation process. So you can see the doors that opens in that level of philosophical and theological thinking. It's really quite distinctive. So I'm going to share screen, and James, if you could paste for any latecomers what I'm about to share here, which is the key handout for today, which is called the Tree of Life. This is the diagram of these 10 sphirot. 10 sphirot are channels of emanation from the unknowable source, which is Keter here in black, down to us, where we can receive them in Malchut at the bottom. So there are 4 themes that I've started to touch upon in the Zohar and in Kabbalistic thinking, in authentic Kabbalistic theology. One is, as I mentioned, that these 10 categories of forces and of receiving, these channels of receiving, enable us to become partners in ongoing creation. They enable us to feel holiness, to become holy, to make Shabbat holy and holidays holy. They enable us to be ethical. Ethics is part of this flow. And to repent and to rebalance ourselves. And they enable us to discover. The Ph.D, pronounced Fed, which I made up, of course, but the Zohar talks about being fed, and it's talking about this level of discovery because it feeds us, it gives us nutrition, sustenance, and that's how we develop through all of these sefirot, ability to partner, to become holy, to become ethical, and to receive revelation. Revelation and discovery, it's the same word in Hebrew. Hitgalut, self-discovery. So let me start at the bottom, and I'll briefly describe the cluster of meanings and some of the symbols around each of these 10 sefirot. Usually I start from the top, but today I thought I'd do it a little differently. Once we get into Shabbat and other aspects of this and maybe meditate a little bit, we'll come down from the top. But the Hasidic tradition is to rise ourselves up through these levels, these 4 worlds, 4 levels of triads, reaching the top as high as you can go. Keter is unknowable, but we can reach wisdom. So Malchut is where we open the gates, the flow, with a Kiddush, for instance, on Shabbat. We open the gates of holiness, because Malchut is the ability to feel God's presence. The name of God associated with that part of God that is the presence of God is the Shekhinah. And a lot of Kabbalah is Kabbalistic writing is about experiencing the Shekhinah, the closeness of God. So that's only the starting point. Above the Shekhinah is what's also called the all, Hakol, is Yesod, meaning foundation. But these titles come from Chronicles 11, I believe it is. L'cha Adonai ha-gedula v'ha-gevura v'ha-tiferet v'ha-netzach v'ha-hod ki-kol ha-malchut. They're all part of Chronicles, and they're taken by the Kabbalists to put into the Torah service. We sing L'cha Adonai ha-gedula as we take out the Torah and we're preparing to receive revelation, because Torah is a transmitter of revelation to Kabbalists. And we sing, and a Kabbalist would tune themselves into that and feel each of those 10 categories of emanation flowing in. So the Yesod, they all come together, all of these. But Yesod is more than that. It is basic life force that God gives us, being alive, being healthy. Healing is part of Yesod. And so it's our drives, our instincts, our need awareness, our capability to know when we're too hot or we're hungry, our sexual drive. That's all part of Yesod. That's a part of God flowing into us, and all of these flow down into Yesod and then into us. Hod and Netzach are a pair. Netzach means what's everlasting, and Hod really means majesty, but it really is a derivative of the word hoda'ah, gratefulness. And Netzach is our values and principles and our ability to formulate principles and rules and mitzvot. Moses, the lawgiver, is the forefather associated with Netzach. And his brother Aaron is associated with Hod. And Adonai Tzebaot, the God of forces, is Netzach, and Elohim Tzebaot is Hod. So the various names of God are anagogis, symbols, code language of this various sphirot. So you have principles and you have emotion, and they're a dialectic in philosophical terms. There's a connection between them. And they're in and out of balance, the left and the right side, all the time. There's much Kabbalistic writing about that flux between all of these lines of connection. But what really harmonizes our principles and values, our missions, with our emotions to carry them out, which are both, is this nucleus, the yellow one. It stands for the sun, with its name Yud He Vav He, that's unpronounceable, called Adonai. That is holiness. And holiness is all of these derivative meanings: balance, equilibrium, harmony. I like the idea of thinking of it as harmony, oneness. And that is holiness. So it brings holiness into this relationship between Netzach and Hod, but also brings holiness into this dialectic between Chesed, which is also called Gedula, greatness. Chesed means loving kindness, but it's all of the aspects of God that give us the ability to be altruistic, empathic, that gives us a conscience. It gives us the desire to want to be good. But on the left side, balancing that is power. This Sephirah in the singular, sphirot in the plural, but this sephira, this sphere, is both strength and power to be a creative partnership. It's the money that we need to build that beautiful new architectural marvel that we've created, as well as the tools, the bricks, the strength. But it's also coalescence, the coalescence of the Jewish people, with the coalescence of all creation, from single-celled organisms to complex organisms to human beings, to the creation of families and coalescence of families, coalescence of people, of tribes, of nations, coalescence of the whole world on the internet, process that's still going on. That's part of Gevurah and Din. It's one and the same. So then you get up into the interesting level. That's of wisdom, understanding, and the unknowable source of altogether. And we have a number of physicists and scientists in our group, and they love this level. It's so compatible with the development of physics. And the Zohar on this talks very poetically about a fast flowing stream of comes out of the unknowable source and makes a comma like a yud from Yud Hey Vav Hey, the letter of the holy name of God associated with Chokhmah, and flows into the sea called Bina. And it gestates there, this wisdom and understanding. And you think about it, what does that mean? What's the difference between wisdom and understanding? Well, understanding is intelligence, the left side of the brain. Wisdom is the right side of the brain. And wisdom is the ability to see the whole problem that you're dealing with and all of its manifestations. And then Bina, understanding and intelligence, is the know-how about, okay, what to do with that. I have this wonderful idea for creating solar homes, but do I know how to do it? Or to create a new cure for cancer? So you may have insight into a whole new approach, but you need to mix that with Bina, with understanding, which is the same root as bonet, to build, the banot, to building and understanding have a connection to Kabbalists. And out of this comes these 7 lower sefirot. Okay? Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet. So out of this comes the ability for kindness, the ability for power, the ability for holiness, equilibrium, balance, the ability to formulate principles, and to have a mission and purpose in life. The meaning of life is part of Netzach. I've written a whole paper on that. And hold the ability to be motivated. And Yesod, the ability to be healthy. And for them all of these above to come together and homogenize and create peace and righteousness, the ability to make the world right. Joseph is the forefather of Yesod. He saved the world, the first person in history or in Torah to bring all of these strengths, the Chesed, the Gevurah, the Tiferet, the Netzach, the Hod, the Yesod, all of these together and save the world from starvation. It's the end of the book of Genesis. Then, so what happens if you have a blockage of the right side? of wisdom, kindness, and principles. And you have individual, even a whole society or a whole nation that has understanding and intelligence, know how to build gas chambers, for instance, unlimited power because it's a dictatorship and they become Nazi Germany, and emotions. You also have a dark side. We can have emotions of love and joy and happiness and gratefulness, where the word hoda comes from, hod. But you can also have anger, hatred, jealousy. You have all three of those. You have an understanding of the Holocaust and evil in the world. We see it still with today with Sinwar and maybe in Putin and other world leaders, dictators, do not have an ounce of compassion. They don't have wisdom. And they don't have principles and values. So the Kabbalistic understanding of repentance. So repentance happens in Bina. We start by understanding the sins that we've had over the past year on Yom Kippur. We review our year. And once we've identified those and brought power to them and brought back chesed and kindness and wisdom and principles to those sins, we've rebalanced them. We've returned to harmony. Teshuvah, that's what the word means. Teshuvah means return. So that's understanding of repentance, of sin, of evil, from a philosophical standpoint. But how do we turn this then into practices, rituals, prayer? Well, we reach the level of holiness is really what the Shabbat is all about. Shabbat, let me read you a few passages from the Torah on the Shabbat. Remember the Sabbath day, the Kadsho, to make it holy. Therefore, Yud-Hey blurred the day of Sabbath and married it. The Kadshehu, and made it holy. Oh, I said married it. Yeah, because to Kabbalists, making holy and marrying is the same word. Kiddushin, the Kadesh, Kiddush. Kiddushin is the marriage ceremony. And he Shabbated on the seventh day from his making and doing, and blessed the seventh day and made it holy, and married it. Remember the Sabbath day and marry it. And finally, in Exodus 31, this is in this past week's Torah portion, all 3 out of the 4 of those in the 10 Commandments. And he gave it to Moses. Moses is the Sphira of Netzach, is the lawgiver. He gave it to the lawgiver and the purpose giver and the mission giver as his bride, to speak with him, to communicate with him, to communicate to all of us as we develop principles and values. So the Shabbat starts with this marriage. The Kiddush, the Lachadodi prayer is all about this marriage between Tiferet, holiness, and Malchut, our ability to feel God's presence. And what Lachadodi does and what the Kiddush does, and the whole Kabbalah Shabbat service, which was developed by Kabbalists in the 16th century under Isaac Luria, that Kabbalah, beautiful Kabbalah service with all the songs, is all about marrying the holiness of God with his bride, the Shekhinah, the called Malchut, which is our ability to receive holiness. We effect this union, this sexual union, and L'Charodi is extremely sexual. And it's not about male and female in the sense of human beings, it's about male and female in the sense of creation. And we're creating holiness. And as Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote, a beautiful writer that he was, whole book on Shabbat. Shabbat is about creating a palace of holiness, holiness in time, and a palace of holiness within ourselves. And that's the meaning, Kabbalistic meaning of Shabbat. And why, as we light the candles, and the mother of the home waves 3 times and covers her eyes. Well, that's 3 times. If she's Kabbalistic, she would close her eyes and come up to the level of holiness, to the level of ethics, to all of these spirot, up to chokhmah, up to wisdom, before she says the blessing on the candles, the light, which represents the flow of forces into us through these 10 spirot. The Kiddush, in the Zohar, we're taught to hold the Kiddush cup like this. Say that my 5 fingers are providing the support. That's Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet. No, Chesed, Gevura, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. My palm is balancing this overflowing cup. And Hasidim, and the Chabad family that I spent time with when I was a student in Israel, would fill this right to the brim, so 1 drop would come over, and you really have to concentrate and feel physically that experience. The palm is your center of balance, which is holiness. You're opening the gates of holiness with each finger representing one of these spirot. Maybe you've seen in congregations people holding like that. They probably don't know why, unless they learned it from me. But a lot of congregations now locally here in the Washington area do that. And it opens the gates, because wine is gevura, power. You need power in order to open the gates. This left side may have yetzer hara, evil inclination, evil potentiality in it, in all 3 of these. But we need the left side in order to be a partner in creation, in order to bring holiness and make Shabbat holy, in order to become ethical, in order to discover. We need this left side. We need our intelligence, our power, our emotions. So the wine that's filling this cup is gevura in the left side, and opens these channels, particularly the channel between holiness and malchut. For every holiday, we start with this ritual of bringing holiness. Let me see what else I wanted to mention. Blessing of the children. May you be or become like Ephraim and Manasseh. As the father puts his hands on the children and the males, may you become like Ephraim and Manasseh. And the girls, may you become like Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, the 4 mothers. Ephraim and Manasseh were the sons of Joseph, who represented all of the Sefirot coming together and saved the world from starvation. But his sons became the next generation. We teach the next generation as part of Netzach, the ability that God gives us to formulate principles and values gives us the ability to teach them to our children. As we say in the Yahavta, I'll teach them to my children. And so as we bless our children, they represent the two pillars called values and principles, purpose, mission, and motivation. So it's very specific meaning to that. The candlesticks themselves are also Netzach and Hod. And to jump ahead a little, well, I don't want to get into Passover in this. I'll take us the next hour. But Passover is a holiday about celebrating this left side because we eliminate the evil inclination. And all of the Haggadah is about celebrating our intelligence, our power, and our emotions to be partners in making a better world. Tikkun Olam. Okay, now I want to move into wedding rituals. This, you guys want more, or are you getting a headache from all of this? Remember, Kabbalah is very dangerous. I hope nobody here is under 40. Now, as I started, that's a misconception that you have to be older. But the reason is that this theology, as applied to Torah, that Torah to the Kabbalists, to the Zohar, is all about these interrelationships. That's too dangerous for people who aren't educated in Torah already and know the whole Midrash and know the Talmud backwards and forwards and the rabbinic degrees. They can study this. So with weddings, that's what we really come down to the peasant class. There's so many ceremonies. And these ceremonies relate to strengthening this new soul that this couple has together, this new unity. We can do so much more to fix the world, to bring partnership and creation, holiness, ethics, and new discovery, revelation as two souls united. And what do we do to unite those souls? Well, it starts with the chuppah itself, which represents Bina. It's like the sea of Bina, of understanding, of intelligence. And out of it comes the 7 lower sfirot, which are standing under the Bina, under this umbrella of intelligence and capability and know-how together. And then you circle each other, or the female circles the man traditionally, but it can be a lot of couples circle each other 7 times. 7. Well, all the 7s in Judaism relate to these 7 lower sfirot. How ironic. So the first circling is the circling of bringing kindness, goodness, altruism into this new soul together. And then the second circling is about bringing power that we need to support us, to support our ideas, to strengthen the relationship. Then the third circling is about bringing balance and harmony, holiness into our relationship. And the fourth circling is to bring principles and values. And the fifth is to bring all sorts of positive emotion, including love. And then health, yesod. And then finally, the 7th, may we have a life of Shekhinah, of closeness to God, a spiritual life together. It's a whole new level of spirituality in a wedding ceremony. But also, these 7s recur in so many different ways. In funerals, in mourning, 7 represent the 7 days of Shiva. The first day is a day of just total given unselfishness to the mourners. Everything's done for them. That's chesed. The next day, a little bit of strength comes back to the bereaved. The third day, they can start to feel holiness. The fourth day, they can start to live by principles again and rethink their principles and their values and have a meaning to their life. And on the 5th day, emotion comes back, positive emotions. They can start to feel grateful for being alive themselves and grateful for what the parent or the sibling gave to them, the grandparents, what netzach, what hod, what chokhmah and bina, what wisdom and understanding, what principles and emotions have been handed down. And on the 6th day, they start to heal. They start to feel life again. They can start to eat for themselves, become nourished. In the 7th day, they're ready to feel the presence of God. So this 7 is not only circling and giving meaning to the wedding, but these 7 lower sefirot give meaning to Shiva. And to the 7 days of Sukkot, same thing. 7 days of Passover. And the 7 weeks of 7 days of Shavuos and of the counting of the Omer. This is the matching of all of this. Each week being a week of Chesed, and then a day of Chesed. The second day is Gevura in Chesed. There's 49 days that are counted. And to Kabbalists who practice this, it becomes a very spiritual period, evaluating their life in terms of the matches between these different sefirot, as if there are 7 within each one of these. So the 7s are very important in Judaism, in Kabbalah. So another 7 that's very interesting, that we won't go into in depth, is the Sheva Bracha in the wedding ceremony. There's 7 blessings right out of the Talmud. And these blessings shows how ancient Kabbalah is, how these blessings relate to Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. Maybe we'll have a whole class on a Monday just on studying those Sheva Brachot. They're beautiful. But the Sheva Brachot appear first in the Talmud in Ketuvim 8a, if anybody wants to look it up. But the first one in the wedding ceremony is the wine, the blessing of a wine, and that's the last one in the 7 blessings that are practiced during the 7 days, another 7, following the wedding. So it's a 7 days similar to the 7 days of Shiva. A wedding ceremony in the Orthodox tradition and in the Halachic tradition lasts for another 7 days after the wedding is just day 1. And each day, friends and relatives come over for dinner and repeat the 7 blessings. So it's an opportunity to really reflect again on drawing these into the new couple for 7 days. So other funeral traditions are worth mentioning. The Kriya, the tearing, the Kabbalistic custom of unknown origin, probably, but it's the first thing you do when you hear about someone who's close that has passed away, is you tear, the Kriya, tearing. You tear a rag or some piece of clothing, and you see people wear a little bit of a ribbon or something of that sort. That's a symbol of having torn their clothing today. But the practice is actually very releasing and very spiritual, of just, when you hear about this, of just being able to take an old t-shirt or something and ripping it up into shreds. That's like a reminder, like breaking the plate in a wedding ceremony, or stamping at the end on a glass, which is not simply a reminder of the destruction of the temple. It's a reminder of a broken world that needs to be restored. And the mission of the Jewish people and of all people to create a better world, to fix what's broken. So the Kriya is like the breaking of a glass at a wedding, is a reminder that the world needs to be repaired. Water is an important symbol in funerals and in the cemeteries. You pour water over your hands, a netilat yadayim, which means not a washing of the hands, but a lifting of the hands. When you say the blessing on Shabbat, or the blessing before eating and washing the hands, you've seen people pour. Netilat yadayim means raising up of your hands, and your hands, the right hand is chesed, and the left hand is gevura. It's kindness and power. You're pouring water of kindness over both of them, ceremoniously and mystically uniting the two and creating holiness out of it. So that water symbolism of washing the body, water is chesed, is kindness and goodness. This is the symbol. We're starting to get into the symbolism. The colors all have symbolic meaning to the different spirot, the forefathers, the names of God. So, and water. Air is tiferet, water is chesed, fire is gevura. White, very important color. The kittel that the groom wears, and the bride wears a white wedding dress, and the groom, the chatan, wears a coat, a white coat, and that later becomes the shroud. It's, by many Jewish men, it becomes their kittel for Yom Kippur. And white is kindness and greatness of God, giving us life, and giving us the ability to give to others that chesed, and to balance our gevura, have compassion. And then Psalm 91, another mysterious part of a funeral ceremony, is that as the carriers are carrying the coffin to the grave, the funeral procession, they stop 7 times as the cantor is singing the Psalm 91, 7 pauses, Ma'amadot, they're called. And everyone wonders, what does that mean? Why do they keep pausing? And again, it's the 7 sefirot mixed in with the meaning on this of that verse 11, I think it is, in Psalm 91. Because his angels he will command for you to guard you in all your paths. In all your, these are the paths, sefirot. The angels are the sefirot. Angels deliver these to us. You see how the angelology fits into this in the 7s. And then the air, the grave itself, is circled 7 times. And not to bring chesed and gevura into the deceased, but to bring from the deceased the chesed and the gevura and the tiferet. And eulogies should be about these same forces and how this person brought and strengthened wisdom and understanding and kindness and principles, and what they were able to build in their life. It was a focus for the eulogies as well as for contemplation, as people individually circle the grave 7 times. You seldom see that practice still today, but it's a Kabbalistic practice that should be revived, I think. Okay. So we've covered a lot, and I want to leave time for questions, which is just perfect. That my point here is that Kabbalah was mainstream Judaism for hundreds of years. And we talked about what's not Kabbalah. And once Kabbalah became out of favor, became forbidden to be taught, then it took on all of this ignorant meaning of, well, it's all superstition and it's all hocus pocus and it's not modern. Instead, it's the spiritual grounding of the Jewish religion, and to the Christians who developed a very sophisticated Christian Kabbalah. We talked about the 4 worlds of partnering with God, or bringing holiness, bringing ethics into the world, and of discovery. And all 4 of those themes become opportunities for greater spirituality. We talked about the 10 sefirot, the 10 channels, about evil, Shabbat, weddings, and mourning. And on Monday, if you can come to the class on Monday, and we'll send everybody the link, or if Jerry will, you're all welcome to come to class on Monday, and we'll continue with a discussion of the symbolism and maybe study a little Zohar and the Parsha Shavuot, the Torah portion of the Shavuot, And if you want to learn more, before I turn this over to questions, I have 2 books that I published that are available on Amazon. One is Understanding Evil, and the other is Connecting to Judaism, understanding all aspects of Judaism from the point of view of Kabbalah. And I want to remind everybody that both the Jewish Study Center and my nonprofit, the Contemporary Kabbalah Institute, which is a group that has as its mission trying to restore spirituality to Judaism through Kabbalah, revive the teaching of Kabbalah even to children at young ages, which should be part of Jewish education. And that book is called that is so the purpose of the Contemporary Kabbalah Institute, and you could reach me at j@contemporaryKabbalah.org and donate at the website. So with that, let me turn this over, and I think everybody, if you raise your hand, I see Mark Sofer has his hand up. I can start to take some questions.
Hey, hi Jay, nice to meet you.
Same here.
Yeah, so actually, this parsha, last week's parsha, was the Ten Commandments, and quite coincidentally, my rabbi talked about Shabbat, and I asked a question. I asked like, what is the Kabbalistic reason of Shabbat, and is rest holy? And I was thinking while you were talking that really Shabbat is resting from creation, and it's interesting that God wants us to rest from creation, and I was just thinking, like, what is the holiness of resting? Like, why is resting so important to God? And also the number 7, is also in the days of the weeks, right? Like it could have been that we had 8 days in a week, but I think the number, the 7 days in a week comes from the Torah, right? Because we could have had more days than 7, so it just reinforces the number 7 as such a significant number. There's a lot of questions in one.
It is, yeah, and they're great questions.
Comes from the moon cycle.
Yeah, just a second. I'm wondering what the response was of the rabbi, if he was able to answer that question. What's the holiness of what's the Kabbalah of Shabbat?
He wasn't, and he didn't. He just said, well, we do it because God does it, and rest isn't significant, right? It's just that we stop creating, right? We rest from creating things.
Yeah, well, the rest is not what's central in Kabbalah or the Zohar. It's not about resting. It's about God stopping, sitting. Shabbat means to sit and stop, not specifically to rest. And it's a sitting and stopping to Kabbalists to enable us to receive holiness and create holiness in time, to do something that we don't do during the rest of the week. So to modern Kabbalists or to Reform and conservative Jews, maybe Shabbat is time to go to the beach or be with family or have a wonderful Shabbat dinner. Not necessarily in the traditional sense to stop doing things that our work is defined by building a Mishkan. So, but to Orthodox, that's a pathway to spirituality. If they're Hasidic, if they're Kabbalistic, then they're thinking all day long. And in Shul, the prayers have a whole new level of meaning. They understand that the ultimate objective of prayer, particularly the Shema, is that same yichud of unity, unifying, sexually unifying the Tiferet, holiness, with Malchut, the Shekhinah, the presence of God.
It's just like the other mitzvahs of the Torah are so action oriented, like sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's completely opposite of like do nothing, and is this like a meditative, concept of doing nothing, or
It's up to the individual. It's not to go to work is the thing, and to have a day of holiness, whatever that means to you. And the 7 days of the week correspond directly to the 7 Sefirot. Sunday is the day of chesed, of kindness and goodness, and Monday is Gevurah. And it's considered not to be good luck, for instance, to get married. It's a bad omen to get married on a Monday, because that's the center of the Yetzer Hara, of the evil inclination, is the Gevurah. But I got married on Monday, and so it happened to be Independence Day. But thanks. Any other questions? Good questions.
I have a comment about Saturday.
Yeah, I recognize your voice.
Maybe it's for health reasons. And I think, it's not allowed in Judaism to commit suicide. So God did not want you to work 24/7 for a year and then kill yourself.
Yeah. That's good.
I have a question.
There we go. Yes.
Hi. I'm sorry. This is Debbie Link in San Antonio, Texas. My question, we were talking about this earlier today. Actually, I was participating via Zoom in a Haftorah class, and just understanding Haftorah, not learning the Haftorah, and discussing different things. And one of the things that came up, and this came up the other day as well, this is a conservative congregation. In Orthodoxy, those who are Kohanes do not go to cemeteries. They don't go to funerals. So what happens when it's their family member?
Yeah, that's halacha in Jewish law, not Kabbalistic that they don't. Although it's associated as Kabbalistic erroneously, because there's perhaps a superstition side of it. So I can't really answer that question, because that's Jewish law. Halacha.
Okay.
Kohanes don't. They're too holy to go into cemeteries. A vestige from Leviticus.
Okay. I know that there's many different levels and many different types of law within Judaism. So I'm friendly with a Chabad rabbi, and I asked him about something yesterday, and I asked if we were talking about the Shulchan Aruch, and I had asked about something. So I guess it just depends upon whom you're speaking with and which type of Judaism that they follow and practice.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I don't know if that's still practiced even in Orthodox communities, that Kohanim, but it's certainly not in conservative and reform, as far as I know. But
No.
in families, it may be true. If you're in a family and you know that you're Kohanim, then it's a family practice. But it's not Kabbalistic at all.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm curious with everyone here, does anyone here know the answer to that question? Please be willing to answer. No, it's one of those that we just don't know. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Typically, a Kohen cannot attend these services and such because they're forbidden to come in contact with the dead, because it makes them impure. It's why if there's a funeral home, they'll walk opposite side of the road, walk around it. Right. If a woman is pregnant, she will also stay away from such places, because it may be a boy, in which case, again, that prohibition's to him as well. With whether or not they can go to the services of a family member, it's kind of mixed. Yeah, I'm saying it's kind of mixed depending upon which division group of Judaism you're talking about. They can attend, they can be present, but there's a limited list of who they can go for. Like, mom, dad, their kids, their brother, their unmarried sister, and their wife. But again, there's, as Jay said, this is haha, and it varies a bit from one sect to another, if you will.
Right.
So
right. Well, there's modern Orthodoxy, and then there is
Let's some other questions that are on Kabbalah, so we don't have too much time.
Lubavitch will have you. Jerry Friedman just put in the chat that her family member passed away and was not able to go to his wife's funeral.
Yeah, like I said, it varies. It differs different from one to another. Jay, Stuart Starr
Thank you.
Stuart Starr put in the chat, there's been interest in Kabbalah by a number of celebrities, movie stars, influencers, many of which are non-Jewish. What is your thought on that? You know, how would you see that? Why, and your analysis and so forth?
Yeah, right. That's been given the nickname Madonna Kabbalah.
Yeah,
the Kabbalah of the Kabbalah Center, which has its origins and its foundation in what's called Ashlagian Kabbalah, which is similar to this concept here that I explained today of receiving, but they've added a lot of New Age philosophy to it and a lot of non-Kabbalistic things, particularly since Rob Berg passed away, the founder of this, and his sons and his wife lead the Institute. I don't even know how active they are now. But Rabbi Laitman has a similar group, similar orientation, but without all the New Age. But it's Aslagian, and that is higher regard for than the Kabbalah Center. I actually did my dissertation on a contrast between the Kabbalah Center on receiving and Rev. Zalman Schachter Shalomi, who's my Rebbe, who's the prime thinker behind Jewish renewal, and the lead rabbi was, his name be a blessing. So yeah, that's a topic I know a lot about. And I'm not sure how the Kabbalah Center is doing, but a lot of people found a lot of fulfillment and satisfaction, including Madonna and a lot of other celebrities, and they raised a lot of money. So
Paul D has his hand up. You want to ask a question, Paul?
I do. Thank you very much. And this has been very insightful. Thank you very much, Jay. I appreciate it. When you talked about Shiva, with each day, starting with Hesed, kindness, and then moving on to day 2, Gavodah, power, judgment, and so on through the 7 days. So I understand that, but then when you talked about Shavuot and the 49 days, like counting the Omer, from a Kabbalistic perspective, is each week like to focus on one of the Sifirot? Like, for example, like do you start with Hesed for the first week, or do you alternate days like to contemplate them?
Yeah, it's very structured, and it's a great question, and thanks for asking it. Mm-hmm. If I can bring up the chart again. Here it is. And yeah, the first week is the week of Chesed, and each day is a matching of one of the 7 lower ones. And the second week is Gevurah. Okay. And so it comes up to 49. And Lag BaOmer is Hod Shebahod. So it's very interesting to figure and think about what is Chesed in Chesed. What is the combination of kindness in my compassion, or in my charity or giving, and what is Chesed in my life versus Chesed in Gevurah, kindness in strength, and Chesed in Tiferet. But the next week you're talking about Gevurah that's in Chesed, and Gevurah that's in Gevurah, and Gevurah that's in Tiferet. So it's very meaningful practice to do the counting and to meditate on it and think about that in your life. It's one of my favorite aspects of Kabbalah, of rituals, that and the Tu B'Shvat Seder that you just some of you
Thank
missed.
you very much, Jay. Yeah, that's an awesome answer. I'm looking forward to, I mean, it's coming up, right? I want to experiment with this. Thank you.
Yeah, the Seder you just missed, that was last Wednesday, was Tu B'Shvat. But you haven't missed Passover. Passover is very Kabbalistic in all of this.
Yeah, looking forward to that first, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question, Paul. Anyone else, James?
I have a quick question. It's
Yeah.
Jack up here.
Unfortunately, on my computer, this program is not lighting up, so it's hard for me to find people. Oh, Jack is in the right left-hand corner, the top.
Yeah,
oh,
that's me. That's me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, by the way, for a very interesting overview. My question, and I've had it for a long while, is being perplexed where emotions are located. If you can throw up that table again, it'd be great.
Yeah, I don't think I'm allowed to bring it up more than.
Okay. No, you
I'm just
the
kidding.
same way. Okay, I can talk.
No, just kidding.
So
here we are.
Emotions are under hood.
Yeah.
To me, it's sort of counterintuitive because I would have thought they would have been located with chesed, with kindness, empathy, because in a way, empathy is an emotional state.
Sure.
Kindness, in a way, is an emotional state. But I noticed that you have emotions prefixed by motivating emotions.
Yeah.
Not just emotions. So I don't know. To me, I always thought that emotions were located with chesed, and they were modulated. They were controlled by limits, gevura, power, discipline. So yeah, that's a question about.
Yeah. So and that's all legitimate, and that's correct. And you can have other emotions connected to other spirot. Awe is connected to chokhmah. Reshet chokhmah, yirat Adonai. Beginning of wisdom is awe or fear of God. But awe is really part of malchut and feeling divine presence. And fear, Isaac, is the forefather associated with Gevurah.
Yes.
Pachad, fear of Isaac, Pachad Yitzchak, is another code name for Gevurah. So fear, to some extent, has to do with Gevurah. So you're right. These are really more. This is the realm of motivation. God gives us motivation. It doesn't occur anywhere else. That's what differentiates Hod.
Right. Okay.
Motivated by Hoda'ah.
Makes sense. Because the left side of the brain, if I could just make a physical analogy, is where these left side phenomena exist. Yeah. Whereas the right side is more related to what's on the right side of your tree.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? That parallel, yeah. Thanks. What's your background? Are you a physician?
I am. I'm a psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist. Oh, okay. I bet you see a lot in this. So the emotions are, yeah. And this is all very Jungian. Jung was an avid Kabbalist.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And but yeah, this is the seat of emotions. And that's why it's on the left side. That's why its color is a dark pink versus a light pink here, because it's more Gevurah, which is red. It has that Yetzer Hara aspect to it. But without emotions, we never get anything done, including sometimes being angry, like people are today, maybe, about the political situation. So, or sad. All those emotions can have the positive sides to them. But there's a shadow to all of this, to our intelligence. We can't see the whole picture.
Right.
if to our power, if we don't have chesed to modulate it, and with an abuse of power, and of course emotions. We don't have principles to modulate them, and kindness and wisdom. And all three of these modulate three of those. Yeah. So great question.
It's just that physiologically, the right brain is sort of where emotions are located, and the left brain is more reasoning and doing,
Yeah.
And verbal skills and verbal aptitudes.
Yeah.
Whereas right is more
So
holistic, and women have more a more developed right brain, and men. I'm speaking generally. These are big extrapolations, and men are more left-sided creatures, left-brained creatures.
The Kabbalist associated in terms of parts of the body, the actually the heart is Bina as a part of the body, because they believed that rational thought was in the heart. So the heart, but more modern Kabbalists like Shakta Shalomi is introduced the concept of left and right brain to distinguish between Bina and Chokhmah. But with regard to Netzach and Hod, principles and values versus Hod emotions, those are the legs, because we walk and move forward. That keeps us walking and moving towards revelation. It's the combination of knowing where we're going on the right leg and having the motivation to keep walking on the left. So we're walking towards revelation, climbing the ladder, metaphorically, up to where we find revelation in Bina by introducing.
And is gender sided, like maleness and femaleness?
Yes, and that's a very complicated question that I have a very simple answer to. Male and femaleness, very important in Kabbalah, but not in terms of sexism, but in sexual metaphoric senses. This whole right side is the male side, and this whole left side is the female. And Tiferet is male, and Malchut is female. But it means that this side impregnates the left side. It's all about reproduction in any animals, not about human beings. It's not that men are wiser because Chokhmah was on the male side, or it's
I would have
to a trait.
I would have thought the opposite, that the left impregnates the right, because maleness is going out into the world. It's more characterized by power, more with
But that's
majesty.
incorrect, because the simple answer is this is talking about reproduction in the sexual, circle with an arrow is the right side, and this is a circle with a cross, female, and biologically speaking, not sexist speaking.
No, I know.
Beings, but about the entities themselves. So the same thing at this level, in terms of principles, enter into its female partner, which is Od, which is emotions. And they always are talked about together in the Zohar. So when you get into Zohar study, this becomes very interesting, particularly in the sense of the subversiveness of the Zohar to the Midrashic tradition and the insight that the Zohar has on certain passages of Torah. It's in the form of a commentary on Torah. And my scholarly work is to demonstrate that it really is a commentary on Torah. It's not just in the form of one. So
Great. I'll be joining you, I think, on Monday.
Excellent. I hope you do. Yeah. Any other questions? If not, I want to thank everybody for coming, and thank James for your invaluable help here. And is Julian here today? He usually monitors the chat room.
Yeah, he's here.
He is here. Okay, we have a few other people from London on, I noticed. Anyone from further than London? No.
Let's see. A few people put in. We got Vermont, Ontario, Baltimore, Florida, California, Long Island, New York, Virginia, New York, Portugal. Let's see, New York, Massachusetts, North Carolina, South Carolina.
Yeah.
New York, I think Miami. I think that's about it, because after that we had some general chat and discussion and the links and so forth.
Yeah, Jerry will send me a copy of the chat. I'd love to review that, see what people said we're talking about. And Rabbi Sachs, you have any insights, anything to add? It's nice to have you with us.
It's nice to be with you, and I'm looking forward to watching the recording of tonight too, as well. So I had to step out. I explained why to you personally for a little bit, for something happy, for a phone call I received. So you'll see that. So I had to miss part of the talk, but
I hope you didn't miss the part on weddings. So
even if I did, I think you'll understand when you see what I wrote.
Okay, well, thank you for coming. Great. I hope you join us on Mondays.
So there's a program on Monday as well?
Yeah, that's our regular class that we have through the
Oh, I didn't realize this. I thought this was just one class. I didn't realize that you have a regular class.
Regular class through the Jewish Study Center.
Is it online?
So my purpose is to give people enough background so that they can jump in and not drown in the advanced class.
Oh, all right. That's good to know.
Online?
Zohar, and we study Jewish prayer as an element of each program. We're doing the Amida starting this week, and we just finished Lechat Odi.
Oh, lovely.
And hardly anyone really understands what it means. And
you can't get more Kabbalistic than that. So.
But we'll be studying the Kedusha, Kadosh this week. And then we study the Parsha de Shabbat. How would a Kabbalist understand this?
I'd be interested in that.
Kabbalists understand this. And we talk about how would a Kabbalist understand this? And then we see what the Zohar actually says about it and study Zohar. And then we move on to Jewish prayer. And finally, we do a 5 or 10 minute short session of guided meditation at the end to give people an experiential introduction to and some ideas that they could use in their own meditation.
After this class is over, Jerry's going to send an email out to everyone who was actually registered through the JSC.
Okay.
That'll include a link to the recording, as well as information about Jay and his regular class on Mondays with email addresses and things like that, so that people can email and get on the mailing list for it. The class is all online. It's over Zoom. And what is it, Jay? It's about 2 hours we spend each week, each Monday, isn't it?
An hour and a half, but then we end with about a half hour, sometimes an hour of just discussion like this.
Yeah. A lot of times that's the best part.
Yeah, sometimes it can get pretty interesting.
That's what I wanted to ask, so thank you.
Group. So Jane and anybody else from the class have anything to add that you think you may want to know about the class? I noticed Mike was on before.
Regular at the class, and it's really exciting when you decode the Zohar. It's really exciting.
Yeah, exciting for me, and that's an explanation of Hod. When you get excited about discovering what something really means, that's a part of God flowing in, gives you that excitement and motivation to want to learn more. So, yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I think the best part for me is when we really go deep. We're looking at Pardes. We go down to the level of Sod and we start to take the Parsha and we break the Torah passage apart and look at individual pieces of it and what the symbolic nature is of that particular Parsha, of those words and how they relate to the tree of life and just general philosophy. That's the part that I enjoy the most of the actual class.
Yeah. And that's every week I discover something new. And this week was particularly interesting because it was on the Ten Commandments and the Parsha, the section of Zohar, Yitro, that we focused on was on the commandment to honor your father and mother.
Mm-hmm.
And totally different take on this. It's father and mother is Chochmah and Bina, or Tiferet and Malchut. And the Kabbalists of the Zohar, the 10 Kabbalists are in these discussions, we're sort of debating between them. Well, does it mean wisdom and understanding? And that's what you're really honoring? Or does it mean holiness and ability to feel holiness? They're both fathers and mothers. There's two of them called father and mother. So that's a good example of how the Zohar understands Torah. It's not the surface that's important, it's the body and soul under the clothing of Torah, which is just the outer surface, literal, is revelation about these spirot. Okay, so with that, let me end the discussion. If I remember how to do it, stop recording.